morning. We are about to start in 5-minute time. Kindly ensure that you have changed your names in our Zoom list to start with your college and then your full name. We highly encourage to turn your webcams on and use the virtual background provided for the event to facilitate engagement with our speakers. We look forward for the productive morning with everyone. Have a blessed day. Globalization in its pre-pandemic operationalized mobility, trade, and travel, not just of people, but most especially of data and information through technological advancement. But such only facilitated the mechanism of disease transmission.
With the coming of the COVID-19, governments all throughout the world shifted focus onto healthcare systems. And as we head towards the goal of herd immunity, the focus now shifts to economic rebound with the goal of sustainability in the new normal setup.
And with the rise of technology integration as means to sustain economic policies, nations come into closer integration to facilitate global interconnectedness. Hence, we become now citizens beyond borders.
An amazing and blessed Thursday to everyone. Welcome to the first of the many events of the International Linkages and External Affairs Center of the Rizal Technological University with the theme
RTU Beyond
RTU Beyond
Borders,
Borders
Internationalization Ingenuities.
amidst the pandemic.
This is JP De Leon.
And this is Cyril Rafael, your moderators for this morning session. On behalf of the center, we would like to welcome our university and college officials, colleagues and friends in the academe and industry, our students joining us right now in our YouTube live, and of course to our resource speakers who are located in the different parts of the world.
That's really true. This webinar is really about beyond borders. And I believe that this is one of the many events aimed to provide opportunities to globalize our content in instruction, research, and extension, as well as to provide access to different scholarships and training for our faculty and students to go abroad. And speaking of beyond borders, what is your take about beyond borders, Ma'am Sai?
Sir JP, for me, it is about going international. So for RTU, it is about strengthening the institution's external and international affairs. So it is about flying high beyond borders. How about you, Sir JP?
Wow, thank you for that good answer. Actually, I'm not just the one who wanted to answer. In fact, the entire audience wanted to answer. They're excited to participate in our forum. In fact, our faculty is already asking their questions via Zoom right now. And I think this is the best representation of what our topic is all about, because I believe that Beyond Borders is about, just like the Zoom meeting, we may be physically separated, but we are not isolated because we always gather for a cause. And I believe that is actually a bond which actually provides the concept of interconnectedness and interdependence to one another. So if you have your thoughts about Beyond Borders, especially to our audience right now, both in Zoom and in Facebook Live, please make sure to key in your thoughts about what is Beyond Borders for you. I think we have prizes awaiting, like we have programs available. Not just kidding about it. But anyway, just to continue on with the program, Ma'am Sai.
So let us not hold the excitement of everyone. Let us start our program by asking the guidance and intervention of the divine providence through a doxology to be followed by the national anthem, RTU March, and the ASEAN hymn to be led by RTU Himig Rizal.
Raise our flag high, sky high, embrace the pride in our heart. Hashtag we are bonded as one, looking out to the world. For peace and all from the very start, and prosperity to us.
So thank you once again to Himig Rizalia. That was a timely prayer for everyone. Again, let us recognize Himig Rizalia, led by their maestro, Mr. Rainier Aguilar, and the Cultural Affairs Center Director, Professor Julian Santos, our internationally acclaimed and beyond borders performers and mentors.
And now to get acquainted with the sender that advocates integration of internationalization to our university mandate, allow us to present the International Linkages and External Affairs Center.
International Linkages and External Affairs Center is responsible in the following: strengthening the institution's external and international affairs, establishing good working relationship with international organizations and educational institutions in other countries, determining the possible faculty and student exchanges through scholarship, cultural programs, and program dissemination, sharing of experiences and expertise, and other activities that may enhance the university's international networks. The ILAAC is composed of the following divisions: student and faculty exchange, international programs, and international assistance. The goal of the ILAAC is for the university to have a well-balanced international caliber education, and such can be achieved through the following: strengthening and focusing more on the exchange and linkages services between RTU and other universities across the globe, joint research and faculty exchange programs, cultural and educational programs for international students, support for the various international conferences and activities, and promote internationalization of higher education.
Right, so as presented in the video, the center is mandated to bridge relationships from our university to our global partners and future international stakeholders. And now, who is the best to represent our university in the global community? No other than our university president. So let us hear the welcoming remarks from our president, Dr. Maria Eugenia M. Yang.
To our distinguished guests, Executive Vice President of Wadhwani Opportunity, Mr. Sunil Dehia, Senior Assistant Professor of Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah Institute of Education of the University of Brunei Darussalam, Dr. Hadja Salima Haji Mod Saleh, President of Yibu Education Network of China, Mr. Meng Bing, RTU Vice Presidents, Director of the RTU International Linkages and External Affairs Center, Dr. Christine Opulencia, Deans, Directors, and Faculty, a pleasant day to all of you. It is an honor for me to welcome you all to this event with the theme RTU Beyond Barriers, Internationalization Ingenuities Amidst the Pandemic. The COVID-19 crisis has brought tremendous pressure on higher educational institutions in our country, forcing us to postpone some internationalization efforts. With the after effects of this pandemic, there is a need for us to revisit these issues and make the necessary suggestions to keep HEIs strong despite overwhelming odds. At the outbreak of the pandemic, most of the schools and universities have ultimately closed. Since then, many of us did not return to face-to-face classes, and we still operate in the online mode. The suspension of physical teaching and the need to switch to an online mode has been an important test for us in our ability to adjust quickly to the new COVID reality. Our continued sharing of best practices with international partners show the strength of our partnerships. It is our goal to keep strengthening this already intense cooperation and to promote an even more productive knowledge exchange. In times of global connectiveness and global challenges, we need to work together and make our international partnerships stronger. Despite limitations and restrictions caused by COVID-19 pandemic, we need to work closer together to build a better future for global education, modern research, and fruitful projects to keep pace with the increasingly changing world of the 21st century. In short, we need more international cooperation, not less. Again, I welcome you all to this virtual forum. May you have a pleasant day.
Thank you, Dr. Yanko, again for that message that you have given. Indeed, this kind of program is very timely, especially for our university as we undergo the preparations for the accreditation program. And now I believe that more than just the completion, it is our deepest desire to increase quality education and internationalization as one of the big contributors to such a vision. And of course, the vision of our university president will not come into full completion and fruition without, of course, the efforts, energy, and wisdom by our vice presidents. Let us hear the messages from our key officials, starting from the Vice President of the Academic Affairs, Dr. Magna M. Cadangan, the Vice President for Research and Extension Services, Dr. Julius L. Meneses, the Vice President for Student Services, Dr. Salvacion J. Pacheco, and lastly, the Vice President for the Finance and Administration, Dr. Marivic P. Sanchez.
Our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, once said, "Genius knows no country." I could not agree more. Distinguished University President Dr. Maria Eugenia Yanko, fellow Vice Presidents, Dr. Christine Opulencia, Director of the International Linkages and External Affairs Center, Deans, Directors, Facilitators, our guests and friends from prestigious overseas institutions, Mr. Sunil Dahiya, EVP, Wadwani Opportunity USA, Dr. Haja Salima Haji Mod Saleh, Senior Assistant Professor Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah Institute of Education, University Brunei Darussalam, Mr. Jack Membing, President Yibu Education Network China. To one and all, greetings of peace, our universal language of love and hope. With the challenges imposed on us by the pandemic, we are concerned about its lasting impact on education all over the world. Undeniably, our apprehension is at its highest, but as we virtually gather today, it reminds us that our global and regional communities are abode to the strong spirit of cooperation, collaboration, and tolerance which are valuable in order to win our fight against coronavirus. Time has proven over again that a diversified yet unified community can overcome any difficult situation. With our esteemed delegates from Brunei, China, and the United States, it is an excellent time to refurbish and re-evaluate our shared interests. It is a delightful opportunity for me to convey my gratitude to ILIAC under the stewardship of its dauntless directress, Dr. Opulencia, for bringing us together in this international webinar forum that covers a wide range of exciting and beneficial themes for discussion. Though the COVID-19 pandemic compromises many facets of humanity, we in the academe will not absolutely succumb to it. Together with the Office of Dr. Opulencia, we will continue to stand resolute at the forefront of developments in content delivery, instructional innovation, and international linkage for our faculty members and students alike. We are one with the ILIAC in constantly building stronger ties with our friends in Asia, the Pacific, and North America and elsewhere who, much like us, are unfazed and unrattled by the pandemic. On behalf of the academic sector, I am pleased to pledge my unqualified support to the undertakings of the university and our international partners in keeping education relevant beyond borders. Thank you very much.
To our University President, Dr. Maria Eugenia M. Yangco, to my fellow Vice Presidents, to the Chief Executive Director, Dr. Rodolfo P. L. John Jr., hardworking deans of the different colleges, dedicated faculty members, students, distinguished guests, other stakeholders present, a wonderful day to each and every one around. In this new millennia of fast developing technologies and rapidly improving online connectivity, creating a global university becomes a reality for each and every one of us. International collaboration becomes the facilitator of our instruction, research, and extension services, and strengthened global solidarity came to be the driver of our mutual undertakings. According to Altbach and Knight 2007 and Bond 2006, they have stressed that in the last 2 decades, they saw universities from all over the world experiencing increased pressure from the external environments because of globalization. This globalized pressure is recognized as forces acting on educational institutions which are tied to culture, economics, politics, business, and power, pushing 21st century higher education towards greater international involvement. As knowledge sharing becomes the way to go, especially in this new dynamic world order brought about by the pandemic, where we need to push forward and finally go over the threshold to see the light in this darkest time in our generation, it is most pivotal to create new linkages that can further promote ingenuities amidst this pandemic. These linkages that we are intricately building can fundamentally equip us in facing this volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous period and foster a renewed motivation to create innovations for the enhancement of our institutional services, pedagogical approaches, research development, and community engagements. Learning from our neighbors who are experts in their different fields would definitely bring a robust and dynamic way of thinking while integrating different perspectives. Thus, I would like to congratulate the team behind this momentous endeavor. This is a big leap towards our goal for global competitiveness. With the initiative of our International Linkages and External Affairs Center, headed by Dr. Christine Opolencia, and in collaboration with our partners from Wadhwani Opportunity, USA, University Brunei Darussalam, and Yibu in Education Network China, our advocacy and commitment to knowledge-driven sustainable development is elevated to further heights. So I thank to their presence and generosity of our compatriots in this quest for excellence. May our sharing of wisdom contribute more on the development of our mutual intentions and aspiration. Good day to every one of us.
Dr. Maria Eugenia M. Yangco, our University President, my fellow Vice Presidents, Dr. Christine Y. Opolencia, the Director of International Linkages and External Affairs Center, our distinguished guests today, our dear faculty members and students, guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very pleasant and safe day to all of us. First and foremost, I would like to commend the ILIAC for hosting this event for our faculty members to give them opportunities to perform their basic functions of instruction, research, and extension using the available media in the midst of the pandemic. I would also like to express my sincerest gratitude to Mr. Sunil Dahiya, the Executive Vice President of Wadhani Opportunity USA, for continuously supporting and partnering with RTU since I think 2015, when I was still the Vice President for Academic Affairs, and we have several projects that we partnered together with the College of Business and Entrepreneurial Technology. And I'm sure that this event will pave way for more international linkages, opportunities for our faculty members and students to collaborate in conducting instruction, research, and extension activities. Thank you very much, and more power to our partnership.
To our University President, Dr. Maria Eugenia M. Yanco, my fellow Vice Presidents and other officials of this university, to the organizer of this webinar under the stewardship of the International Linkages and External Affairs Center Director, Dr. Christine Opolencia, our honorable guest, Attorney Lily Freda Macabangon Milia, Chair OIC Deputy Executive Director of International Affairs, our resource speakers for instruction, Mr. Sunil Dahiya, EVP of Wadhawani Opportunity USA. For research, Dr. Haja Salima Haji Mohadshela, Senior Assistant Professor from Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah Institute of Education, University Brunei Darussalam. And last but not the least, for extension, Mr. Jack Mengbing, President of Yibu Education Network from China. Dear faculty members, students, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The COVID-19 pandemic, having its global impact, caused the largest disruption in the history of education. This pandemic severely affected higher education as colleges and universities closed their premises and several countries shut their borders in response to lockdown measures. The crisis has affected the continuity of learning, delivery of knowledge and skills. Social and educational events such as graduation, athletic events, on-the-job trainings, benchmarking activities have been altered. International students were particularly badly hit at the start of the lockdown. With the advent of COVID-19, colleges and universities took heavy action to suspend travel and recall students already on board to protect the health and safety of the students, faculty, and staff. Students has to decide whether to return home with limited information about when they might return or remain in their host country with restricted employment and education opportunities. The students' mobility began to be at risk when colleges and universities announced the cancellation of all study abroad programs, and university-sponsored travels were prohibited, both domestic and international. The decline in international student mobility risk affected the productivity in advanced sectors related to innovation and research. During this crisis, research and many resources were understandably redirected toward preparing for and caring for COVID-19 patients. Likewise, community extension programs were also suspended due to the threats posed by coronavirus. This pandemic has challenged the education community. It has sent shockwaves across the globe, shifting from
Okay, so again, we'd like to appreciate the messages coming from our vice presidents. We highly recognized all the efforts that you have given. Plus, also we wanted to appreciate you for emphasizing the need and the impact of internationalization to the development of our university. Our deepest apologies to everyone, especially for those who are experiencing intermittent internet connection, and even to our ends, we're actually experiencing some technical difficulties. Am I right, Ma'am Cyril?
Yes, sir. So this really is what we are experiencing right now. So we are very sorry for this one.
Yes. But just to continue on with the program, we would like to now recognize the speaker who will be giving her keynote address. Our keynote speaker is currently the Deputy Executive Director of the Commission on Higher Education. She is also the Secretary General of the University Mobility in Asia and the Pacific, Philippine National Secretariat, the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community, focal point for higher education in the Philippines, and CHED's alternate representative to the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Human Resource Development Working Group, among other representations. She served as the University Legal Counsel for the University of the Philippines system, and later became the chief of the CHED Legal Service, the director of CHED Office for State Universities and Colleges and Local Universities and Colleges Concerns, and now Director 3 of CHED International Affairs Staff Office, and also as the Deputy Executive Director, spanning a service of 16 years in the government in the Philippine higher education sector. Let us all welcome Attorney Lily Freda M. Milia.
Dr. Maria Eugenia Yanco, University President of Rizal Technological University, Dr. Magno Kendangan, VP for Academic Affairs, Dr. Julius Meneses, Vice President for Research and Extension Services, Dr. Salvacion Pacheco, Vice President for Student Services, Dr. Marivic Sanchez, Vice President for Finance and Administration, Dr. Sunil Dahiya, Executive Vice President of Wadwani Opportunity USA, Dr. Haja Salina Haji Mod Saleh, Senior Assistant Professor, Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah Institute of Education, University, Brunei Darussalam. Mr. Jack Mengbi, President, Weibo Education Network China. Dr. Mark Garvida, Dean of the College of Education. Professor Imelda Shoson, Director of the ECSC. Professor Nilmar Moreno, Director of CRDC. And Dr. Christine Opulencia, Director of the International Linkages and External Affairs Center of RTU. Faculty and students of Rizal Technological University, and to all other stakeholders with us today. A pleasant morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to convey my gratitude to Rizal Technological University, its International Linkages and External Affairs Center, for inviting me in today's virtual forum with the theme Internationalization Ingenuities Amidst the Pandemic. We appreciate your efforts in organizing this virtual forum, and it is also gratifying to have here today participants from both international and local institutions to share information, exchange ideas, and learn from each other. Your theme, Internationalization Ingenuities Amidst the Pandemic, is indeed timely and relevant given the global predicament of uncertainties we are all currently facing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And as the pandemic continues to loom over our lives, we must think of ways to move forward towards new, timely, and innovative methods and processes in order to survive and thrive in the new normal, towards improving the lives of many and building a better, healthier, and safer future for everyone. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought a lot of uncertainties to the higher education sector. Apart from causing major disruptions of teaching, learning, and research, it has also adversely affected many internationalization activities of colleges and universities. Abruptly adjusting and adapting towards distance and remote learning through digital means impose complex challenges for the teachers, students, and the education sector as a whole. Nonetheless, more than the negative side, Ched believes that this adversity has also undeniably opened doors of opportunities for a stronger relationship between sectors and institutions all over the world to come together beyond the usual paradigm of higher education. The pandemic is reshaping education like never before, not just in our own localities, but on a global scale as well. The disruption in education, in the way we teach and learn, has presented us with opportunities to reshape the way we teach for the faculty and the way to learn for the students. And while the internationalization initiatives of Philippine higher education institutions were challenged during this time, we at the Commission continue to anchor our efforts on the premise that our stakeholders must have continued access to learning. Higher education institutions are creating cross-border collaboration that enhances intercultural understanding and knowledge exchange. Seminars, virtual student mobility, online conferences, and virtual forums like today are now becoming a new normal. In the face of the emerging new normal, the Commission is committed to finding ways to make the Philippine higher education sector more responsive and relevant. And let me share with you some of the noteworthy initiatives of the Commission. First, the PhilChed Connect, an online platform that contains higher education course materials in text, audio, and video format, and other digital assets that are useful for teaching, learning, and research purposes. It expands opportunities for interdisciplinary teaching and learning by allowing instructors to integrate and revise multiple educational resources. Second, we have the CHED High Ed Bayanihan, a virtual and free cooperative learning community for educational fora, training, capacity building, and resource sharing among Philippine HEIs. This digital community is made up of educators, learners, and content makers focused on exploring innovative alternatives for higher education stakeholders. Third, the Smart University Project, Republic Act 11494, or the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, provided 3 billion pesos to assist state universities in the development of smart campuses through investments in ICT infrastructures, acquisition of learning management systems, and other equipments to fully implement flexible learning modalities. Truly, under the new normal, we must navigate to keeping and fortifying the current partnerships while expanding and seeking higher education cooperation and partnerships, both locally and internationally. The Collaborative Online International Learning or COIL program, for example, uses international collaborative online pedagogy that encourages partnerships among professors and students in designing the learning experience and completing assigned activities. This brings together teachers and students across institutions, cultures, and disciplines and provides them with intercultural experience within their courses of study. We are also embarking on virtual internships and immersions in partnership with companies and communities that are creating a localized delivery of internationalization programs and ensures that the students gain the needed competencies and values. Despite the continuing challenges of the pandemic, CHED, through the International Affairs staff, continues to respond to various commitments under the ASEAN and the ASEAN Plus 3 Education Work Plan, focused on promoting awareness, building networks, and developing exchanges. We continue our efforts to actively contribute to the pursuit of the regional higher education agenda on exchanges and mobility, finding ways to sustain connectivity despite physical restrictions. Even in the face of the pandemic, we are doing all that we can to make our higher education system adjust in this new environment, going for initiatives that will help reimagine Philippine higher education's accessibility, sustainability, quality, and equity in the new normal. The Sustainable Development Goals, or SDG 2030, remains as the framework even under the new normal, and universities must continue to integrate sustainable development in their operations and incorporate the SDGs in their teachings, curricula, resources, research, and strategies. Global partnership is key to successful internationalization programs during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. Meaningful partnerships can build capacities based on diverse and contextualized needs of the partners, and resources can be maximized when experts in the universities can teach through online platforms and flexible learning modes. We aim to reimagine our policies, regulations, and standards and plan for a rewired higher education ecosystem responsive to existing national priorities as well as the new global order for education in the present and post-pandemic time. And we do all that we can to make our higher education system adjust in this new and better normal. To all of us here today, may this virtual undertaking be one of the testaments that COVID-19 pandemic may have slowed down the mobility activities for Philippine universities, but it introduced us to a lot of alternatives which we can explore to ensure that the knowledge, skills, and competencies needed by the students are continuously delivered. And may this further inspire us to aim more and strive more for the greater benefit of the higher education sector. We would like to take this opportunity once again to express our appreciation to Rizal Technological University for spearheading today's event. We also express our gratitude to all the speakers, guests, and other attendees, both local and international, for giving your time and effort to participate in this forum. The Commission hopes that this would highlight more opportunities for learning and development, especially in terms of research, instruction, extension, and innovation. May you acquire significant learnings from our expert presenters today, and may this endeavor serve as an introduction to more future collaborations between Philippine higher education institutions and local and international counterparts. Know that you can always look forward to the Commission on Higher Education's full support. This is a commitment that CHED will always be your companion in every endeavor you wish to undertake, together for the benefit of all students and for the whole of the higher education sector. In the words of our CHED Chairman Popoy de Vera, and I quote, "Working together, we can do more. And in the Philippines, we have a name for it. We call it bayanihan." End of quote. Tuloy ang pagpadyak para sa edukasyong de kalidad. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the success of this event. Maraming salamat at mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Thank you, Attorney Milia. It is indeed that every test produces opportunities. What is important is to face the pandemic with positive light, just like how the Commission on Higher Education adapted to the new normal. And now I know that each of us are actually excited to hear from our main speakers for this morning, who will share not just their expertise, but also their initiatives with the challenges relevant to the pandemic. To increase our engagement, we will have our open forum after the presentation from all of our speakers. You could type in our comment section your questions, and we'll try our best to raise it after all the presentations. Now, to introduce our speaker, we'll talk about internationalization ingenuities in the field of instruction. Let us call in Professor Cyril and Rafael. Ma'am?
Thank you, Sir JP. So let me introduce our first speaker. So he is currently the Executive Vice President leading the Wadhwani Opportunity of Wadhwani Foundation Skilling Program in Asia and continuously expands in emerging economies. Wadhwani Foundation is a not-for-profit with the primary mission of accelerating economic development in emerging economies by driving job creation in India and other countries through large-scale initiatives in entrepreneurship, small business growth, innovation, and skilling. He has been working in vocational education and training space for 28 years. He co-founded a new B2B vertical stock route at NIIT, an Indian multinational skills and talent development corporation headquartered in headquartered in India that offers training and development solutions to individuals, enterprises, and institutions. Mr. Sunil led the digital transformation product series in the information technology enabled services space. He also headed the industry collaboration vertical responsible for placements of 200,000 students. He also led the product management, technology alliances, business development, and channel management verticals. Let us give a warm welcome to Mr. Sunil Dahiya.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So first of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. People might be, joined in from different places in the world. And thank you, RTU specifically, and right from Dr. Maria and going up to the leadership team, which is from RTU, and my gratitude for giving us this opportunity to be able to speak to to be able to be part of this. What should I say? It is more like a forum which is full of educationalists, academia, students, trainers. So it's a huge opportunity for us to be sharing our thought process in this forum. So thank you so much for that. And it is such a pleasure to be part of this gathering. The topic which I will be covering is more to do with the instruction piece. In fact, it's true that at the time of pandemic, and since last almost 2 years, we have been going through the pandemic right here in USA to, in fact, all across the world. And unfortunately, the pandemic came in, but on the other side, pandemic also landed up in giving us a lot of lessons. And be it specifically the academia, the new way of learning, the new way of teaching, the digital getting importance, the whole industry ecosystem changing towards the new normal, and the new normal in terms of what you are learning at the university, and the new normal in terms of what are you expected when you are at workplace. So all these factors around us, and I would also like to also put across this point on the global, as we all are now moving into a global village kind of concept. There are students which could be in any part of the world, and there are employers which could be in any part of the world, and there are startups and the ecosystem which could be any part of the world. And because of technology and various other things, it is now looking like that we are absolutely one global village. So when the student learns, student is learning to be a global citizen. And when everything is now being developed, be it content, be it pedagogy, methodology, everything is now having global, global at the back end, more to understand that is whatever we are working towards, is it global, and can it be global? So as we all move into this paradigm, I just thought, let me spend a few minutes with all of you on covering the instruction part. And on the instruction part, I would like to divide my, let's say, my comments into 2 or 3 categories. Initially, we'll talk about what are the trends and what's happening on the pedagogy front, which is which is the complete new. Are there some new models emerging? We'll just talk about that. The second part of my conversation, I will talk about the higher education and the new normal, or the higher education and the instruction, how the way of learning is changing. And lastly, I'll talk about the role of industry, the role of academia, and the role of government, if we have to move together in this direction. So let me start with the first part, which is to do with the pedagogy and the innovation around pedagogy. So if we look at it, the terms like andragogy and pedagogy, they are the pedagogy is a model which is very teacher-centric model. Andragogy was self-centered, it's self-learning model. And now you must be hearing about this new term called heutagogy. Now, this term is a combination of a teacher-led as well as student-led learning model. So what does this mean in a very simple terms? I'll try to explain it in very simple terms. This would mean a learner becomes the center stage, and the learner determines their own goals, their own learning paths, their own way of learning, processes, and products. So in other words, the learner is positioned at the center stage of the learning process. So what does it mean? Now, this might sound, a lot of confusion, but in a simple terms, what does this mean? If I am a student and I can move towards a situation where I can define what I want to learn, how I want to learn, this is the best way I can learn, and how I want to be assessed. If this can be defined by the student or the learner, and then the trainer community comes around and works as an enabler, this is the new pedagogy model, which is called heutagogy. So basically what does this do is, from a student standpoint, this means the following. Student becomes part of designing the content and the process. In other words, right at the time the content is designed, student plays an active role during the designing of the content itself. Then there is no one defined way of learning. The way of learning is defined by the learner's pattern of learning. There are students who would love to learn in a classroom environment, but there could be other group of students who love to learn in outside classroom environment, and there could be a third or fourth category of students who are exploratory or discovery learning focused. So they just want to go out and talk to people and then come back and then learn. So there could be various ways of learning by the learner, and the role of trainer becomes that the trainer would make sure that the required environment is made available for the student to learn. So let me put it in very, very simple terms once again, because this might sound new. From the heutagogy concept, the learner becomes the centerpiece. That's number one. And after the learner is, when we say the learner is the centerpiece, so the learner sets the tone for clearly identifying learning goals. So that's the key here. The learner decides his needs, frames his learning, decides on learning process, and continuously challenges the assumptions to enhance the learning experience. And the learner, while becomes the centerpiece, the trainer community makes different learning environments available for different kinds of students. Now, what does this do? This pushes the self-learning as a very big concept to the learner, and learn the way you want to learn. So there is so that way we push the learner to be independent, but learning what is required to be learned. At an overall level, this is the basic concept of heutagogy. And now let me just go to each component of this. For example, look at the content today. So in the last 2 years, or rather even last maybe 7 to 8 years, what we are seeing is content development was always something which everyone, most of the education houses or education ecosystem was building. Now, it has already moved into community content development or curation. There are solutions available technology wise, where the content can be curated than developed. So, and content has to be bit sized and bite sized. So when I say bit and bite size, in other words, it means the content should be uh, almost that much that a user can absorb and feel good about it, and not more, not less. So a lot of innovations and technologies are moving in this area. Another very important factor which I would like to share with all of you is the voice. If we look at, let's say, 2 decades earlier, when information technology started coming in, the importance of data, the importance of analytics, the importance of information, the importance of internet, the importance of various medias of learning, various modes of learning came in. And now there is also a big shift, which is, I'll not say shift, but it is an addition to the current technology in terms of way of learning, which is now emerging, is the power of voice. So voice can be as powerful, as any other part. And this would mean that in most of the economies across the world, if we use voice properly, we can reach out to the last mile and reach out to the last student who may not be having a very smart device in the hand. So voice is becoming another game changer as we speak. Things like, just to give you an example, if a student is speaking his own language, maybe mother tongue, and the student is in a deep interior of a country, and student gets a call in his own language on his mobile phone, and the automated technology talks to the student in his or her own language, but the end of the conversation of 5 minutes, the digital profile of the student is ready, and then the digital profile can be sent to the employers, and the interviews happen. So let me also share a very interesting trend, now visible in Mexico and Brazil. Actually, more Mexico right now. Most of the interviews are today, the human intervention is reduced to only 10%. It is all technology-driven interviews, and the student on the other side can talk in one language, and the technology would automatically convert it and take it to the required department, and then slowly the interviews itself, the whole concept of interviews is changing. So these are the factors which are working all around. So this was the part one, where I said that let me talk to you about what's happening to the pedagogy models. So in the future, what we are here to observe is andragogy, pedagogy, and heutagogy will stay together. And as we move forward in terms of in the instruction, from the instruction standpoint, the instructions will be it will be student-led, as well as trainer-led, and as well as community-led, and obviously the technology-led. So that's the summary of what I meant in the point number one, which I wanted to discuss with all of you in terms of heutagogy, emerging pedagogy and heutagogy models. Second part, which I said that I'll cover, was what's happening to higher education across various countries, and what's happening on the there are very interesting trends on higher education. In fact, most of the countries, right from US to Mexico to Africa, India, Southeast Asia, Philippines, Indonesia, we are seeing that there's a need for the industry to participate early in the life of the student. So if industry participates early in the life of the student, maybe at grade 9 or grade 10, or maybe there are countries where they're starting at grade 6, in terms of how can the workplace awareness start to get built up right at the school, and then going up to the high school, and then further going up to the colleges. So if the industry can participate early, and when we say industry participates early means, in other words, this would mean hands-on practice getting right into the academia. So if I give an example, is it possible for our students to spend, let's say today, it would be spend 5 days in classroom and 1 day in lab, if you put it all together in a week, divided in terms of hours. If we just turn it around, is it possible for students to spend 5 days on the floor and 1 day in the classroom? So the importance of concepts is so crucial. We cannot, that is so core to the entire part. But can this kind of shift happen in the higher education? And in fact, most of the countries, they are coming up with very innovative models around this. And how do we take hands-on right into the school's curriculum, and then starting very early and then taking it further? So this was the second part, which I thought I must cover in terms of higher education, and this the skill-based learning. So there is a knowledge-based training and there's a skill-based training. So the knowledge-based training is the one which is more on concepts, the more on learning, the real concepts, the textbooks, the material. And then the other part is skill-based learning, where you apply that, whatever you've learned right at the time when you're learning, be it in the higher education institutions or even schools or even further. So that is the second part, which I thought I should cover. So to summarize the second part, the movement of industry into the curriculum definition, curriculum designing, and industry moving and setting up shop floors, setting up production floors in the academic campus is the next movement in terms of higher education new trends which are getting visible. The last part, which I would like to cover now, is to do with the role of industry, the role of academia, and the role of government as we move forward. Because all that which I spoke about, and which we are hearing, is if this has to see the light at the end of the tunnel, it has to be so. In other words, is academia has to open up to involve student in curriculum design. Academia has to open up in involving, allowing the student to learn in multiple ways, various, learning patterns, learning behaviors, but meeting the same goal. So academia has a big role in ensuring that we all become facilitator to the student's learning journey. However, key responsibility of the academia is not to make sure that the direction is always correct and the student moves in one direction. That's the role of academia. When we look at the role of industry, it is now time for the industry across the globe to be participating shoulder to shoulder with the academia as early as possible. So there are, when we talk about various examples in different parts of the world, I'll give you some examples. When it comes to Latin America, we would find most of the students in the system today are not looking forward for a job, but rather looking forward to learn entrepreneurship. So if there's a group of 100 students, 80% would be interested in setting up their own business. That would be the trend in the LATAM and kind of world. But when we look at let's say countries in Asia, still there is still a high focus on getting a job and then growing into the job and then getting better and better. So this is the second part. And then there are countries which are now working innovatively in terms of even the tax payment. 1% of the tax comes to the academia to build skills among people. This is the example from Brazil. So there is a lot of focus which is happening all around in various parts. But one single thing, whether we look at the German model or we look at the US model, the one thing which is very clear is involving industry early in the game, and involving industry in a defined way. It is not just a lab being donated by the industry, but actually allowing the students to be on the production floor and be ready to accept the consequences of that, because students will learn a lot, but sometimes they will have So they'll have to work out financial models around it. And lastly, the governments. Governments are moving most part of the world. We see this here in US. US, we are seeing now that the skilling programs have been opened up for community colleges. So whether it is blockchains, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is the technologies of the future, but the skilling programs are now opening up for the community colleges in US. We are seeing governments working on innovative ways of ensuring that they support all the initiatives by academia and industry, because ultimately it is the government who has to support these two entities to work together and make it win-win for both of them, be it academia or the industry. So to summarize my comments, initially we started off from the instruction standpoint. We spent some time in terms of what's happening on instruction side. What are the new models on pedagogy? We spoke about pedagogy there. The second part, we spoke about how is higher education and higher education adopting the new normal in terms of industry moving into the education. And the third part we spoke about was the role of industry, academia, and government as we move forward. So that's all which I wanted to share with you. I would be very glad to take any questions at the end of the program. But thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. All the best to each one of you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dahia, for your discussion about instruction. So as we internationalize the ingenuities on instruction, there are some things that I really wanted to point out, Sir JP, about what he just mentioned. No? That there are different expectations raised. Now, what are we learning in the universities? The students are really all over the world, and the technology makes us a global village. Everything is really going global. So we learn that the new pedagogy model wherein the learner becomes a centerpiece, right? And the importance of workplace awareness through strengthening industry partners, skill-based learning, and knowledge-based learning, and how the way of learning is really changing. So we learned that from Mr. Dahia. And lastly, the role of the academy, the students' involvement in different ways, and this involvement we should still share a common goal. As it is all about having the students, the academe, and the industry partners go hand in hand, and together we go beyond borders. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Dahia, for your very nice talk about the instruction for internationalization. So again, if you have questions from the topic of Mr. Dahia, you may type it in on our chat section. You can chat it, use it during on our YouTube live for the students and for our faculty. You can use our Zoom chat. You can send in your questions, and our technical team will collate it, and we will be raising that later after all the presentations. So, Sir JP, do you have anything more to add on about Mr. Dahia's topic?
I believe our audiences have lots of questions because those are really good models that have been presented, and much of it is something that we were not quite acquainted with, especially we have newly transitioned to this distance learning. So we will be having our questions later on. Thank you, sir, again. Thank you, Sir Dahia.
Thank you, Mr. Dahia. We will be seeing you later for the open forum.
Sure.
Thank you. So to introduce our second speaker, who will talk about internationalization ingenuities in the field of research, let us call in Professor Jamie Lee Gregorio.
Good morning, everyone. Our next speaker is currently a senior assistant professor at the Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah Institute of Education, University Brunei Darussalam. Her research interests include teachers' technology enriched or enhanced instruction, teachers' technological, pedagogical and content knowledge, or TPAC, teachers' context beliefs and attitudes towards technology integration, and quantitative research methods, particularly structural equation modeling and analysis of data. She is recognized as Microsoft Faculty Fellow for Technology Enriched Instruction, or TEI, for faculty development since 2013 and has conducted TEI workshops for academic staff members of University Brunei Darussalam annually and China Central Normal University, Wuhan, in 2014. Prior to her current administrative position, she was the Director of Studies at the Assistant Vice Chancellor Academic Office, and later the Dean of the Students at the Students Affairs Unit at the University Brunei Darussalam. She was a secondary science teacher before she joined the Sultan Hassan al Bolkiah Institute of Education in 1998. She is actively involved in research on teacher education, particularly in teachers' use of technology in teaching and teachers' beliefs. Some of her research publications can be viewed at Google Scholar and Scopus and at ORCID. So please look at the screen, and these are the QR codes. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Dr. Salima Maud Saleh.
Thank you very much. Let me just get my screen. I hope you can see that.
Yes, doctor, it's viewable. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Let me just play it. Thank you very much for the invitation. Let me see. Okay. Yes, I would like to thank RTU, Dr. Christine, for the invitation that I shared this morning. And thank you very much also for the committee for the warm welcome that I have this morning. So what I'd like to present today is on research endeavor during the COVID-19, how technology and human facilitation helps to speed up the research process. As we all know that as academia, to get a research approved quickly and to get the research done within a very short time can be rather taxing. But during the COVID-19 last year, when we have to face a school lockdown in March 2020, so like all the countries in other parts of the world, the school have to go on remotely online. So there is an urgency for us to find out, make a needs assessment of teachers, students, and parents, how they are coping with the online teaching and learning, particularly with the primary school students, and of course the parents. Because we have to develop the research within very short time, I like to talk to this morning our experience, how technology have enhanced the process and human facilitation, how people help to speed it up as well. Okay, first of all, I would like to go through all the technologies that, because this is a resource sharing session, I thought it would be nice to let you know the background of what we did during the research. So we find that Qualtrics survey online is the best, fastest way to create questionnaire and disseminate and collect data live, and we can analyze the report. So Qualtrics actually allows do the analysis, the descriptive analysis very quickly. I forgot to mention in here the technology also that we help speed up the process of the dissemination of the links that we created through WhatsApp and email. I forgot to say, Zoom plays a very important role because that's where we meet online, right? To design the questionnaires in our research group. So Zoom, I should have put Zoom here. So of course, the fastest is to use WhatsApp. Email is another option, but it will take on a slower pace. Okay, but it's we cannot undermine the importance of human facilitation because we need people to help facilitate disseminating the WhatsApp and to also encourage, with survey questionnaire, not many people are keen to participate. But however, because we wanted to assess the opportunities and the difficulties that the teachers might, or the student or the parents are having, we actually have people to sort of encourage to respond to the questionnaire. So when it comes to the analysis, as I said earlier, having a descriptive analysis or a descriptive data, which is generated by Qualtrics, is useful. But we wanted to find out in depth what are the factors that actually motivate teachers or that hindering teachers in using technology during the COVID-19. And we wanted to find out how we can at least alleviate some of the problems that they have, mitigate some of the problems they may face during the online teaching and learning. So for analysis, we were able to copy the raw data from Qualtrics and use it in SPSS and MOS for structural question modeling, so that we can actually analyze in depth. So we have to contact the right people to assist in the distribution so that we meet the target. So to be honest with you, the whole process takes about 2 weeks. 1 week to prepare the proposal, getting the ethics clearance, getting contact with the people that are essential in delivering the links through WhatsApp. And because Qualtrics is very quick in analyzing the basic data, it was more or less about 2 or 3 weeks time that we were able to complete the research. Now, the human factor, as I said earlier, that helped us to be quick in our action was, of course, to contact the MOE. We quickly present the proposal to get some ethic clearance and some budget that might be required. And then after that, we distribute the questionnaire, gives participant about a week to respond to the questionnaire. Alhamdulillah, Brunei is a small country, so it is quite easy for us to give such a short time. And then we have to present it to the Minister of Education, and then, into the committee, how the data findings can use to help mitigate some of the problem that teachers may be facing. And of course, the paper was presented during the APAC SIT 2020 last year, in which I think that's how I met some of the participants here to share with you again some of the data. Okay, right. In Qualtrics, the good thing about Qualtrics is it's meant to design, it's designed for questionnaire. So there are various ways in which you will create the questionnaire, and you can actually open it in mobile phone. So it's accessible quickly. And then we use the Mendeley to do quick research about the framework in which that it is suitable to analyze our data. As you know, when it comes to designing questionnaire, it has to be informed by certain theoretical framework. Especially, as I said earlier, we wanted to see how the factors affecting teachers' motivation or intention or behavior in using the online teaching and learning. So we used Mendeley to research it, and then we distribute the questionnaire through WhatsApp, as I said earlier. So these are the two research questions that are prominent. There are, of course, smaller research questions that requires descriptive statistics, but the major ones are, the first research question is, what are the factors that are influencing teachers' intention to implement online teaching and learning, particularly during the COVID-19 school lockdown. By identifying these factors, we hope that we will able to sift through some of the difficulties that might have, and then take proper action to mitigate it, or to see some of the factors that actually facilitate that are influencing them positively. And so we give positive reinforcement to support those factors. The second question, research question, was how are these factors affecting the teacher's behavior? Behavior here is defined as the implementation of the online teaching and learning. So what sort of methodology that we use? Oh, sorry, let me just go back here. So in terms of the analysis, we do have the descriptive analysis as well, which is generated automatically by Qualtrics. It even gives you a full research report. You know, the report immediately you can already identify the descriptive data. So, but we need time to process the analysis through factor analysis using SPSS. This is just to identify which items are valid and reliable to indicate some of those characters or attributes to the teachers. And then we use structural equation modeling. This is the all-in-one, like multiple regressions, to investigate how these factors are related to each other, how they affect each other, how they are influencing each other. I will tell you in detail later when I come to the model and all the factors. And then in order to identify the factors affecting teachers, as I said earlier, we need a theoretical model. So that's how we identify it. And then we look at the factor loading on the items to make sure that those items are valid and reliable. And then we draw the model using Amos and look at how those factors are affecting each other. These are called, we're getting how fit does the model explain the teacher's behavior. So in terms of interpretation, the data will give us, of course, the validity and reliability of the items, okay, to measure the variables that are latent. Latent means those are the construct of the theoretical model. I will explain again later when we see the model what I mean by this. And then looking at the strength and the directions of those relationship. Is it positive or negative? And then how strong is that relationship? So we wanted to also to make sure that the model is fit to explain the teacher's behavior. So the methodology, we use the online survey. We have a scale of 1 to 7. There are altogether 40 items, which are designed based on the theoretical model. And item of the questionnaires are also already been used before and already deemed as reliable. So in our questionnaire, we checked the reliability and it was quite a big reliability, 0.93. So we distribute the link of the questionnaire to all 170 primary schools in Brunei and 31 secondary schools, as well as six form center. Six form centers are the pre-U colleges, right? And altogether, these teachers are 6,078. Despite the human facilitation, I said earlier, we get about 45% response rate, which is dim enough to do the structure equation modeling. So this is what it looks like, the Qualtrics. As you can see here, this the survey we designed using this link, yeah, and then once the data is available, you will analyze here, and then you will produce reports. There are two forms of reports. One is the results, which is all the raw data, and this is where I get all the raw data, convert it into Excel files, and then export it to SPSS, and use the same data to draw models in SEM in AMOS. The other one for immediate response to share and deliver to the committee, we produce this report what looks like this. So basically, first question and all the items, how they respond to it. These are all the items of the questionnaire, and then we look at what responses there are. So the Qualtrics even design its own PowerPoint, which was really useful. It's automated. So all we did to do after the 2 weeks, at the end of the research, we just go online on Zoom and present it to the committee about the findings of this research. And for the committee, of course, to take some actions. However, as I said earlier, we wanted to see more in depth about the factors affecting teachers' behavior and intention. So these are the teachers who responded. You can see a lot of them are math, science teachers, English, all right? And there's also foreign languages, Bahasa Melayu. And we pretty much covers all. But unfortunately, there are not so many primary or early childhood teachers because mostly they don't use, a majority of them do not use online because they opt to use home-based learning. Home-based learning means they will print out materials for their lessons, home pack it, and then the parents will go to school, of course, following all the SOP. For a week, they will collect the home-based material, the package for students, for their children to study at home. So that's why we did not have a lot of response from primary school teachers. So this is the model that I was talking earlier that we find to be useful. So what this model is called Unified Theory of Technology Acceptance and Use of Technology by Professor Venkatesh. He developed it in 2003, but there are a later updated version which is called UTAUT, okay, UTAUT model that they call UTAUT 2, which is of more variables to it. So when I said just now, these are the factors. These are the latent factors. You don't really can observe it, right? But we do use the items of the questionnaire as the indicator variables, which I will show you later what they are. So generally what the models say is that for a teacher to have an intention to implement online learning, these are the factors that affects them according to this theory: their performance expectancy, their effort, the social influence. These are people around them, like their colleagues, the principal, the students themselves, and parents. And facilitating condition that promote or influence teachers' behavior is, of course, the availability of devices. Children, their students are having devices, availability of the data, and of course, the speed of the internet. Of course, let me tell you in advance, one of the findings that we found, which we mitigate quickly after we found this, is about these facilitating conditions. So there are a lot of students do not have enough devices at home. Maybe one family have one, which is shared by a few siblings. Some students do not have devices at all. So there's also the problem with data. It's costly. Some students do not have data because only the parents have mobiles. Even if they have mobile, the data will not be enough to stream a live session with the teachers. And it's not just one teacher, it's so many teachers, right, for many subjects. So that's one of the problem. And of course, the availability of the students' access to data speed. There are, because various spectrum of internet speed in certain areas, right? So how we mitigate the problem, what we do during the COVID first wave, we are currently experiencing a second wave. We are currently in school lockdown. As you all can maybe hear from the news, we mitigate it by whole nation effort, whereby industries, banks, individuals set up a fund for buying devices. There are also committees or donations of refurbished handheld devices or computers. And then the data, cost of data has been tremendously reduced. And in terms of internet, it has been improved by using optic cables. So the internet provider quickly work on day and night, trying to establish all the optic fibers connection to certain areas. And then in terms of the data collection, we also set up to the banks where everybody encouraged to donate as low as $1, $1 Bruneian dollar to that, so that it is used to distribute the data to those who needs it. So that's one of the findings that we found from our survey, and we quickly mitigate that. So going back to the model, so this model says that if the teacher has positive intention to implement online learning, they will of course use it. So some of the other factors are voluntariness of use, experience, age, and gender. At this stage, when we did our research, we did not look at this actually, because I know why we didn't do it. We wanted to limit the number of factors, that the question number. If you have too many questions in a questionnaire on a handheld device, it will be too long. So we scrapped this factors. Right. So the results, the first questions, what are the factors influencing teachers' behavior? So what happened is the raw data that we have, we go through the factor analysis in SPSS, and it comes out to the printout is, it comes out to be like this. So they are identified as 9 components: self-efficacy, enjoyment, perceived enjoyment, satisfaction. Let me just give you the next screen. These are the definition of all those factors. Self-efficacy is about the teacher's personal belief that they will succeed in engaging on online learning. perceived enjoyment, the extent to which the activity using online learning can be enjoyable, satisfaction, teachers' sense of gratification, effort, expectancy, where is a degree of ease associated with the use of online learning. Performance expectancy is the degree at which the teacher believes that the use of online learning will help them improve their teaching performance. Trust is also another factor about the reliability and trustworthiness of the system. They wanted to make sure that where they go online, it will be safe. For your information, before we already have established our Microsoft Teams for all schools, even before the COVID. But unfortunately, we did not use it a lot because there was no necessity to use it in the beginning. So Alhamdulillah, because of this COVID-19, we sort of seamlessly moved from the face-to-face interaction of school to online. It seems seamless because we just asked everybody to go online, but it wasn't easy because not every student know how to do that. So that is another factor. We have another team looking at student experiences. My team, we were looking at teachers' experience. So like I said, the platform was ready. That's what I meant. The platform for online teaching learning was ready. We use Microsoft Teams. So the teacher needs to make sure that it's a trustworthy site, right? Perceived risk is again the likelihood the teachers suffer from the loss of implementation online. Means that how would they benefit from using teaching and learning online? So mostly, and last one, intention is the teacher's own perception of their preparation for teaching and learning online, as was mentioned previously. Now the teacher's role has changed, not just as a teacher now. The teacher has now become a facilitator, as an instructor. It's all about pedagogy. Yes, Mr. Sunil was saying earlier. It wasn't just about teaching and learning. It was also about instruction, giving the correct instruction. So, and last one is the dependent variable, which is called the implementation behavior, the actual delivery. So those are the factors that we identified that are valid and reliable. So how do these factors affect teachers? We run structural recursion modeling on AMOS. It's quite, what you see here are all the indicator variables. The one in squares and the one in circles are the latent variables of the theory earlier, right? And those are the values of the validity and reliability of all those items. So to make it easier, I draw this to see the relationships between the latent variables. So this is the implementation behavior. As you can see, the beta, this is the strength of the relationship. There should be positive sign in front of it, meaning it has a positive relationship. So that means the intention is higher, so the implementation behavior will also be higher. Unlike this one, we have a negative relationship, or this is significant. The star signs means is significant, but the relationship is inverse. That means, strangely, the teachers feel that their effort does relate negatively to intention, meaning if, of course, if I don't put a lot of effort, I have a big intention of doing the online teaching learning, but my effort does not match what I intend. So that's what it means. So the big numbers here means it's a big relationship, right? So you can see that enjoyment affects teacher satisfaction. And if the teacher is satisfied, they will have intention to implement it, and they will actually implement. That's what it means. But most important is about their performance. These are the negative relationship, but not to worry. These two are not significant because there's no star sign. But what is expected from this result, which is good news, the performance expectancy does not play a lot of role in their intention. So that means teachers do not mind too much putting effort so that they can do online teaching and learning. So these are some of the findings that we found from the structural equation modeling. So is the model fit? These are the fit indicators in SEM, okay? Shall I say the models all barely fit some of it. Like this one, in order for it to be fit, it should be less than 3. We have 6.8. These are just indicators, right? Some of the other index, there are good sign, like this one, RMCA, it is within the values, but this one is a little bit below. So because it's such a hurried action, although the model does not have a very good fit, but we have some ideas. What is important is it identifies some of those factors that we want to know. And once we identify those factors, our action as policymakers, the people in Ministry of Education are able to quickly mitigate the problem. I think with that, I'll end my presentation. Over to you. Thank you. Oh, sorry, there's a conclusion here. Let me read some of the conclusion. Is a bit good fit, but there is still good internal consistency. But that, like I said, some of the fit indices, we did not fulfill it. So from this UTAP model, we're also looking at that performance expectancy, effort expectancy, trust, satisfaction, influence teachers' behavior, and they have some also influence behavior. The trust and satisfaction influence teachers' behavioral intention to a large effect, and also influence behavior with a small effect, except for trust. So there are some concern in the teachers about the safety of their online presence. So the implication from the studies is that we can motivate teachers to improve teaching and learning mode by improving the future direction of teaching and learning and digital learning. In fact, after the survey last year, the MOE has made a new policy as of next year. We will be going on blended learning, whereby the students will come to school on certain days and they stay home on certain days and do online learning. So we hope the COVID-19 second wave has actually expedited the process. Let's see how well it's going to, something that we need to research about the success of that blended learning. So the findings imply that there is now a focus on developing and influencing and encouraging teachers' intention. So we are now the Brunei Darussalam Leadership and Teacher Training Center, BDLTA, is already producing online training of professional development of teachers. So even the training of teachers are now done online. And lastly, teachers need to be given positive reinforcement to elevate their self-efficacy, satisfaction, and enjoyment. And how we do this is, of course, to getting them equipped, providing them the right skill and the right knowledge, and to support. Alhamdulillah, because of the COVID-19, we saw mitigate the problem of internet connectivity, access to data, as well as ownership of devices. At least now we aim towards one house, one device. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saleh. Actually, it's really an eye opener, the presentation that you have made. In fact, we were talking in our separate GC about the study that you have, and we find it really good, especially in the application to our university. On my take, and actually on the personal takes of the organizers, we see it really fit that it is a must for every institution, especially for a university, to cast the direction and cast the vision to motivate our teachers on what will be the next step for our university, and that will actually make them prepare for that particular direction. So thank you again, Dr. Saleh. We will be entertaining questions later on for Dr. Saleh. I believe that we have really good questions, especially on the study that was then presented. Let's give a round of virtual applause again to our speaker, Dr. Salima Mod Saleh. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So to introduce our last speaker for this morning, who will talk about the internationalization ingenuities in the field of extension, let us call on Professor Donato Estocada.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's my turn, right?
We will be introducing you, Sir Jack. Yes, thank you. Sir Donato, are you with us? Hello, I think, Sir Donato, you are on mute. You could unmute yourself, sir.
Okay. So
Hi, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. Sir JP, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. You're heard now.
Okay, sir. So our next presenter is a graduate of bachelor's degree of English education from Capital Normal University in China. He is also the president of Yibu Education Technology Company, an education company established in 2014 in Anhui province in China, which has been sending hundreds of PhDs and master's students to the different universities in the Philippines. The company has 50 partner universities in China. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming our next speaker, Mr. Jack Meng Ping. Sir.
Yes. Thank you for your introduction, Dr. Dong. And I have to say, I'm very happy to be invited to share my experience with all of our friends here. And thank you, Dr. Christine, first, to give me the chance. And this is not the first time for me to join this kind of forum, but this is my first time in RTU with all our friends and students here. And I'm very honored to be invited by our president, Dr. Engineer Yanko, and all our vice presidents. And I'm very honored to speak with all the professors from the world. Now, today I want to share my experience, working experience. Actually, I'm not any professors, but I'm only a industry person to push forward the international linkage. So could you please allow me to share my screen, my apartment with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Problem, sir. We'll be making.
Yes. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir. It's seen already.
Okay. Thank you very much. Actually, my company is named Yibu Education. Now, today I want to share my idea about the pandemic makes chances. Yibu Education, actually, it has been working for more than 17 years. Before Yibu Education, our previous company is named the Fengda Company. We started sending Chinese students to the Philippines around 2004 and 05. We sent students to Philippine Normal University, and gradually we worked with FU Manila for more than 12 years, and now we have partner schools in the Philippines, more than 20 partner schools. And yearly we can send around 1,500 around 1,500 students to all the Philippines, to different schools, different programs. So I'm very happy to have this chance to work in the Philippines. Firstly, I want to share is the international linkage. It is two ways. It is not only sending students to the Philippines, but also we want to invite more coming to China. So firstly, I want to talk about the chances in the pandemic. Before the pandemic, the foreign students also were invited to visit China physically and to study in different universities. And during the pandemic, the China government, they have the official website, which is Study in China, which welcome all the foreign students, teachers, faculty members to study, to work, to exchange, to do research in China. So if you feel interested in, you can check online the Study in China, which is our official website, China government official website. So you can get the China government actually offer the full financial support to Chinese teachers to study abroad. Like, for example, in the past 15 years, we have been sending almost 1,000 plus university teachers to study for graduate programs in the Philippines, only in the Philippines. And 95% got the full financial support from the central government or local government. So that is why the Chinese teachers, especially the teachers from higher education, they have no financial pressure to study abroad. So this is the first thing I want to emphasize. Only with the strong support from our central government of China, so the higher education teachers, they have the chance to study abroad. That is why, as an agency of IBA education, I have the chance to send so many Chinese teachers to study here. And also, China government offer the financial support to foreign students. If any foreign students or foreign teachers to study in China, you can apply for a financial support for research, for study, even for complete all the cost in China. Some Chinese university even offer the fund, including the accommodation and food. And the third part is China government encourage China universities connect with the schools from the one belt, one road countries. So I think all our friends here, you must know one belt, one road policy from China government. It is from our chairman, President Xi. He encouraged the Chinese higher education to connect with more foreign universities and schools around the one belt, one road countries. And this is a good chance for all of us. So I want to encourage and welcome all our friends from the Philippines, teachers, students. You can find a chance in China to study, to do research, and also you can do the other kind of the research exchange. And the following part, I'm going to introduce my working experience in the past years when I'm working between China and the Philippines. So during the pandemic, I think a pandemic actually speed up school education, turned to what I call organized online education. Online education definitely will replace school education in future. I still remember like 25 years ago when I started my university education in Capital Normal University, which is also a good university in China. It's a top 10 normal university in China. I want to let you know, in China, actually, to get into a top school is very hard. Yearly, we have a national university entrance examination, which is only once a year. We have around like 10 million applicants. Every year, we have 10 million applicants apply to study in the universities for bachelor degree. But unfortunately, because we have very limited university resources now, we have almost 3,000 universities, but still limited. Only a half, like around 4 to 5 million, they can get into the 4-year bachelor degree universities. The other half, they can only go to 3-year vocational college. to receive the vocational education. This is a very huge market. I will explain later in my talk. So the new technology makes the language barrier removed. So like 25 years ago, when I went to my universities, my dean told us, someday you are going to lose your job because nobody will speak English. Nobody will speak English. There will be no foreign language barrier. So like today, it's very funny. I'm from China, and we are joining a meeting from the Philippines. We have the friends from Malaysia, but we speak the English language. This is a little bit funny. But I think someday, there will be no language barrier, and it's going to be very fast. Like now, all my Chinese students study online through the Microsoft Team or Google Classroom or Canvas. But all the online technology, they offer the interpreting technology, which can help the Chinese students to understand well, even they can speak not a very good English. So we can see in short-coming future, with the faster developing the new technology on the interpreting functions, the foreign students, they don't have to speak English language. There must be easier way for all the foreign students to study with each other. More Chinese people will come out of China to study. They don't have to worry about IELTS and TOEFL test. So actually, I think TOEFL test, IELTS test, it is a barrier between the countries, between education. Like before 1949 in China, we do had a lot of Chinese people to study abroad. But at that time, there's no IELTS test, there's no TOEFL test. But the Chinese people still can go out of China to study, right? And also in the Philippines, we have a lot of Chinese businessmen. They came from the Fujian province like 30, 40 years ago. At that time, they don't study English well, but they just come out. So gradually, when they stay in the Philippines, they work hard, they do business, and their English is going up. Even they can speak Tagalog now. So actually, language should not be a barrier. So that is why I insist the language barrier will be removed. And with the removing of language barrier, the school education, even the school teachers will be like very limited compared with the internet, because we can easily find the resources, any resources, even the skills, what we want to learn from the internet for free. So what we should do now? I mean, the school, the university education, the school education, what we can do now? This is what we have to think now, from now on. So before the school education disappearing into the booming online education, that is what I'm thinking. All education institutions across countries should work together much faster and deeper than before. So what we can do between universities, according to my working experience, what we can do? The first thing is we can invite high quality professors and co-advisors to co-teach the students from China or from the Philippines, the two sides. So before we invite the Filipino teachers to work in China, but unfortunately, the Filipino teacher, they cannot speak a good Chinese language. And the Chinese students, they still cannot understand fully English classes. So if we can use the online interpreting functions, the communication will be faster and we don't have to waste the time to wait. The second thing is offer more dual degree programs and sandwich programs good for foreign students. I checked the program from the Philippine universities. Some universities, some top university like the UP, like the St. Thomas, they can offer the dual degree programs. So the dual degree programs, I think it should be 1 degree from the Philippines, 1 degree from China, which means the China universities and the Philippine universities, they can work together to offer dual degree programs. Or the dual degree is one from the Philippines, one from other countries like UK, like Malaysia. So 2-degree programs should be encouraged more. Because as we all know, Chinese people, if you give them a chance, if you tell them, if you can study hard, you can get 2 degrees within 2 to 3 years. I think you can find more talented Chinese students to come to study in the Philippines. We can find more good students from China. The sandwich programs is what I'm saying. Some years in China, some years in the Philippines. For example, the 4-year bachelor degree. So in the past years, we have Chinese university. They want to work with the Filipino universities, like a 3+2, 3 years in China, 2 years in the Philippines, and then they can get 2 diploma, one from China, the other one from the Philippines. Now, this is what we call sandwich programs. For the sandwich programs, actually, we are combining the teaching resources together, including the faculty members, teachers, and also the facilities. As we all know, in China, we have very good facilities, laboratories for students to use. And in the Philippines, we have very high quality teachers, professors who can speak international language, English, for example. The Filipino professors can help our Chinese students to be able to speak English better. Okay, this is what I'm saying. 2-degree programs and sandwich programs should be encouraged more, faster, and deeper. The next one is offer international elective courses to foreign education institutions. When I worked with Chinese universities, actually Chinese universities, they have the demand. They are welcoming the international elective courses from foreign partners, foreign universities. For example, if RTU in future, you can offer the English for technology, or to teach some technology programs on undergraduate level or graduate programs to Chinese students. You can make some subject as elective courses. So eBook can help you to promote in China. Actually, in the past 15 plus years, eBook already have more than 100 partner schools in China, colleges, including colleges and universities. That is why we have the very stable channel to recruit students for all our partners. Like, for example, in 2019, only in 2019, we sent 1,200 students to 4 universities in the Philippines. One is the perpetual help. And like in Lasadasma, in the past 5 years working with Lasadasma, we have like 300 to 400 students already. So we can see if RTU or if our partner in the Philippines, you can offer a good high quality elective courses, one subject or several subjects, we can promote in China. And I'm sure there will be quite a number of Chinese students interested in your international courses, subjects, which is not delivering a diploma, only a subject. And the fourth suggestion is to build co-research centers or co-internship centers across countries, like what I'm saying. Now China need more people, like in, for example, in the hotel management industry, in tourism industry, they need more human resources who can speak English. So on this kind of programs, we can invite the Chinese student to do the internship in the Philippines. And in the meantime, we can send the students from the Philippines who study engineering, who study medicine, which the program needs the good laboratory and facilities. You can send this kind of students, science students, to China, because in China, we can offer much better facilities. We can share the resources. So the co-research centers, co-internship centers are what we can do now, are very welcomed by China universities. Like a co-research, even we can get the fund, research fund from the local China government or local or central China government, because our Chinese government encourage the teachers to do the research internationally. That is what we push now in China. Okay, and education fund, to raise education fund is also one thing you can think about in China, because in China we have a lot of companies, they are very willing to offer the fund, education fund, to different programs. Before, when I worked with Lasadasma, they have very special offices only for the international fund raising for education for post students. So I encourage our partners like RTU in future. We can work together to raise the education fund from China, from other countries for our students. I mean, the students, when we talk about students, it is not only for the Chinese, it also including the local Filipino students. Just as I know, the top 50 universities in China, they offer a full scholarship to the foreign students from the undergraduate level to PhDs. So for some very talented Filipino students who are from the poor families, you really can think about studying in China, for free. And you can get a very good university's education there. The last thing is online seminar. Online seminar and a forum like today. It is very effective, easy to start, and I think we can make more between universities. But I suggest we can expand this kind of seminar or forum between universities and the senior high school. In China, we have a lot of senior high school, and just as I mentioned, yearly we have 10 million students, new applicants from senior high school to apply study in the universities, but only a half cannot get into the university. So if RTU or any other my partners can have the seminar, have the online meeting with the Chinese senior high schools, it will be helpful for us to attract more talented, more good senior high school students come to study in the Philippines. So this is what I'm saying. Pandemic speed up the school education, tend to organize online education. But finally, as I think, the only organized online education, or what we can say, it is more like the home-based education, but it should be home-based education plus internet, organized internet behavior will gradually replace low efficiency school education. Like, for example, even my kids, I have been thinking now, I will not allow my kids to go to the school. I will offer my kids the personal education with my own resources. Because of my working history, I have connections with different schools. So we have the very good resources, education resources for kids. So we can offer the special assistance to my kid education. So this is an example. What if someday there are a lot of education companies or education institutions which can offer specific, customized home education? So at that time, the school education will be forced to be smaller, and some schools will disappear. The next part I want to share with us is I want my partners to understand what kind of the students is from the China. So the Chinese students, the first thing is they cannot speak good English. Because in China, from kindergarten, we learn in Mandarins, in the mainland China, in mainland China. We learn in Mandarin, in Chinese language. Of course, we learn English, but only in 2 to 3 hours a week, which is very limited. It is not possible for our students can grasp English well when they study out of China. Of course, now in the past 20 years, we have the IELTS test, we have the TOEFL test, and the English training is very booming in China. But unfortunately, in 2020, China government already issued a new policy. The new policy is any companies cannot hire foreign teachers to teach online now. Without permission. So if you can Google now, you can find in China, we have a big change in the education field because we are encouraging more families to give the babies more, to deliver more babies. And China is going to the Asian country. So that is why we need more kids. So China government try to lower the pressure for the young families, young couples. That is why we closed down a lot of training companies, and we asked the public schools in China, actually more than 99%, or we can say 100% schools are all public owned or all government owned. They ask the central government, asking the public school teachers to offer more services after school even to the students, to help the students to study well. So in this way, the young couples, they don't have to spend much more money like before for the after school tutoring. So maybe in this way, we can help the young couples to be able to deliver maybe babies, kids for China. So when Chinese people, they cannot speak good English and speaking and listening capability, we have to realize that. So when Chinese students come to the Philippines, what I'm saying is almost all the universities in the Philippines that offer the English proficiency training from like 50 hours to 240 hours differently. But unfortunately, these Filipino universities, they didn't really thinking how to design a customized training program for Chinese students. They just finish the hours, done. Most of Chinese students, when they finish the English training with universities here, they feel they feel unsatisfied. Compared with the English study in China, the Chinese teachers makes our Chinese students feel more effective. Of course, there is some misunderstanding, because I know, I'm an English teacher, I know, for foreign teacher, the good things, the advantage for foreign teacher, for Filipino teacher, is to teach speaking and listening, some part of reading. And for Chinese teachers, English teachers, they should teach in mother language about the grammar and basic writing skills, because they can explain in mother language, which can be understood easier. While in the Philippines, when a student come to the Philippines, the universities when they offer the English proficiency training, they even ask their teacher to teach grammar in English. How can Chinese students understand English grammar in English, which is very hard for them? So that is what I'm saying. When our partner schools in the Philippines, when you offer English training to Chinese students, please offer a customized program for our students. Chinese students, they are good at grammar, and some students are good at writing, but listening, speaking should be focused from the beginning. The second characteristics of Chinese students is they are very obedient and they are willing to follow the instructions. Just like what I'm saying, Chinese students, they came here only to get degree. They just want to get degree. Most of the students, more than 90% of the students, they are obedient students, easy to be managed. So we never have the problem to manage the students. And the third characteristics is Chinese students are advocates of well-planned teaching. I have to explain these things. In China, everything is planned, well organized. So we Chinese people already get used to. We get used to know something. If you ask me to do something, I want to know each steps with a time schedule. And then we will follow the time schedule to finish each steps. But unfortunately, in the Philippines, the China students, not in all the Filipino universities, in some of the universities, let's say like a 60% of the local Filipino universities, they cannot offer a well-planned schedule for our students. Even sometimes, for example, I'll give you some examples. Before the pandemic, my students complained to me, of course, only some cases. When they get into the classroom already, the teacher will be late for 30 minutes. The students feel okay because they're graduate programs, no problem. But when the students be late for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, the teachers will be unhappy. So the Chinese students will feel it is unfair. So this is one case. And the other example is before the start of the classes, there is no specific arrangement in time schedule. So the students just keep asking agency, what should we do next day? When we will have the examination, like for example, and in what way we are going to take the exams. So the students will keep asking me a lot of questions, but you have to know, I have thousands of students study in the Philippines. So it takes me a lot of time to keep answering the students, to calm down my Chinese students. But on the other side, after we calm down our Chinese students, we go to the Filipino partner schools to ask for assistance. They ask us to wait until they have the reply. So when we select the foreign university as our partners, we like to select a well-planned universities, because that will save me a lot of time. As an agency company, my job is to recruit as many students as possible from China for my partners in the Philippines. My job is not to answer my students' questions. I mean, the questions should be answered, should be arranged well before the program. So my suggestion for my partners in the Philippines or in other countries, if you want to attract more Chinese students, please arrange everything well in advance. And before the students get enrolled, start the classes, you should have a seminar, have an orientation with our Chinese students to tell them each steps and with well-scheduled plan. I will give you a good example, which is the San Lasa University in Bacolod. We started working with San Lasa University in Bacolod last year, 2019, and we only send one batch in 2019 for PhD in nursing, 33 students. And every month, the San Lasa University will have a regular meeting with me every month, once a month. We are discussing what does the students have any questions to ask the school, and the school tell us what we are going to do in next term or in next month. So because of we communicate frequently, monthly, so all my students feel, I can say, completely satisfied with the school. That is why this year, 2020 and 2020, we sent the first batch, and the second batch will come in 2022 January to San Lasa. We already have connections. We helped San Lasa to connect with the hospitals and the medical schools, nursing schools in China, and we are expecting 100 to 200 students for PhD programs. I mean, in nursing, education, different programs in 2022. So well-planned teaching, well-planned program is very, very important for Chinese students who come in batches, because that is a big number. They need to be well-planned. And the next characteristics I want to share with you is Chinese people, they are obsessed in fast track, anything fast track. When they get into the airport, they want to go to the green channel faster track to be faster. They don't want to stay in the line. Of course, that is not correct. And programs that want to make it faster. For example, they want to graduate within around 2 years to get a PhD degree. And now it is possible because in the Philippines, the CHED already issued a new curriculum which allow less academic units, and but with international publication requirement. So the fast track programs is also very attractive to Chinese students because they want to save the time. Why? In China, why Chinese economy growing so fast? Because Chinese people, we already have a philosophy. Faster working, you can make more things, you can get more. So that is why when we study, we want to make it fast. Of course, I know as a teacher, I know that is not correct. We cannot make everything fast. But as an industry person, I have to let you know why the 2-year program is more attractive than 3-year programs. Why no Chinese students coming to the Philippines study 4 years, but they like the 3+2 sandwich programs. 3+2, 3+1, 2+2, this kind of sandwich program. Why? That is because Chinese students, even the families, they hope their students can study faster to get a degree. Of course, to study well is another expectation. So if we don't compromise on the basis, no compromise about the quality, if we can offer a little bit of faster track programs, that will be helpful for us to attract more Chinese students from the undergraduate level to doctoral programs. Now in China, we have a very huge demand on degree education. Why? Because just as I said, around 4 million to 5 million students that can only get a 3-year vocational college diploma, more like an associate degree. So in China, this kind of students, if they want to get a 4-year bachelor degree, they have to study another 2 years in China. So that is why they choose to study in Thailand, in Malaysia, in China. For example, the Chinese students, when they finish a 3-year vocational college study in China, they can apply study in Thailand for another 2 years to get a bachelor degree. And also, they can apply to study in the Philippines for another 2 years to get a bachelor degree, which is what we call 3+2. So this demand is very huge. Of course, in the Philippines, I know we have 3-year programs. Some programs, like in Philippine Women University, I remember it is a music program on pop music program, undergraduate level, only 3 years, because there are 3 terms a year. So for this program, only 3 years. For Chinese students, they can study 3 years in China, 1 year or 1.5 years in the Philippines to get a bachelor degree, which is more attractive. So this is what I want to share with you about. We have to know about Chinese students. If we really know Chinese students, we can find a suitable program, good for Chinese students, but do not compromise the qualification from the chat. Okay, lastly, I want to explain what is the change. The first thing is the graduate programs, including master's and doctoral programs. Recently, in the next 5 to 10 years, Chinese central government encourage university teachers and college teachers to get a PhD degree from abroad, because in China it is too hard. It is very limited. Only 2 to 3% applicants that can get the doctoral degree from China. That is why so many university teachers that study abroad in Thailand, in Korea, in Malaysia, in China, in the Philippines, are cheap, and they can afford, and they can learn English, improve their English, and also within 2 to 3 years, they can get the doctoral degree program already. So like yearly, we have around 2 million applicants for the graduate programs, but only 30% they can get enrolled. The other 70%, they have no place to go. They have to prepare for next year examination, because once a year for the universities, entrance examination for graduate programs. It's very hard. Like the second program, what I suggest is sandwich undergraduate level programs. We call it a 3+2, 2+2, 3+1. Yeah, between 1 China universities and 1 Filipino universities. So yearly we have around 5 million students. In China, we have around 1,800 plus vocational college. And among these colleges, we have around 5 million students per year. They graduate. So this is all our potential students who want to get a bachelor degree, who want to continue and study 2 years or 1.5 years or 1 year to get a bachelor degree. And after that, most of them, like half, 50%, they plan to study for graduate programs continuously, because the competition in China for good jobs is very drastic now, especially during the pandemic. A lot of companies closed and the people lose their jobs. So they need to upgrade their degree after the pandemic. And the last part is co-research. If you want to connect with Chinese university faster, strongly, so we can start from co-research. like co-publish the thesis, like the international, holding the international seminar like today. This is very welcomed by China universities, and Igbo education can help you to make it in a faster way. Yeah, in a Chinese way, faster way. So normally in the past 3 years before the pandemic, we invite our partner to like the universities from like RTU, Manila, like San Lasa to visit China. We have the special conference only for my Filipino university partners. In China, we are going to invite 20 to 30 schools to sit down together, talk about the research, students exchange, and teachers, faculty members exchange in this way. That is why we can send so many students to the Philippines. Of course, as I know now, in the Philippines, there are some not right things I want to explain. Okay. There are a lot of agencies in the Philippines. More than 70%, they do wrong things to promote. You should be careful. Like, for example, they invite the Chinese teachers to be professors to teach in the Philippines to our Chinese students, but in Chinese language, which is not correct. The China central government allow that happens, no problem, but it should be limited, like 10%, like 20%, but it cannot be too much. So any schools in the Philippines, if you use Chinese teachers to teach in Chinese language to the Chinese students, if the percentage is too high, like more than 30%, I mean, that is maximum, as I know, from the CSE of China government. That will be very careful. So if any agency encourage you to accept Chinese professors to teach in Chinese language here, please be careful. You can accept one or two, several in a very low percentage. That is okay, but not too much. The second thing is I insist, please allow Chinese students to study by themselves. They can learn online, like they can be assisted by the online interpreting function from the Miss Team, Google Classroom. It is okay. But do not allow any Chinese interpreter during the class, because during the learning process, if there is an interpreter there, the Chinese students, they will not learn English anymore. They will only listen to the Chinese interpreters, which is not correct. So in the past years, Igbo education never arranged any interpreter or Chinese teachers for our graduate programs. That is what I expect my partners here in the Philippines, in Malaysia. Do not give the agency any chances to compromise the education, especially what I mentioned, no Chinese teachers teach in Chinese language. If the Chinese teachers can teach in English language, okay, that's no problem. And also no interpreting during the learning process. This is what I suggest. And thank you very much for Dr. Christine. Thank you for the presidents. Thank you for RTU giving me the chance to share my working experience with all our friends here. And I hope someday after pandemic, I have the chance to invite all our friends here, including the speakers, visit China. So you will see, you will check what I'm saying, if it is correct or not. Thank you very much.
All right, so thank you so much, Sir Jack, for your presentation about the beauty of what you can offer to the Philippines. And I am really excited about the different programs that you're offering, especially with the international elective programs, the dual degree programs, and other sandwich programs that you have mentioned earlier. So I believe that one of the key to an institution's success is by building international connections, by actually going beyond barriers. And language is not a barrier. No, language will not be a barrier, but it will serve as an opportunity on our part as RTU, as an institution, like having English language programs for Chinese students, and also we are really looking forward for this partnership that you have presented. Thank you so much, Sir Jack.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I believe there are questions for the open forum. And Sir JP, do you have something?
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Thank you again, Sir Jack. Those are actually wonderful words and wonderful opportunities, especially for a university like us. I believe some of our participants has questions, particularly with the presentations of our three speakers. So we're now opening the floor to the questions. So you may actually key in your questions either in our chat box or you may directly PM us for those questions. Okay, so I think we're requesting the technical team if we could have our speakers, our other two speakers, be pinned in our session for today. Actually, we have received already some questions coming from our audiences earlier. And by the way, we would like to thank our audience because currently it's lunchtime in the Philippines, and yet they're still staying with us here. I think this is the benefit of having a virtual event. You could do lunch while learning and growing and developing yourself. So let's proceed down to our first question. I think we have a first question to be addressed to our first speaker earlier on. So we have a question to Sir Sunil Dahiya, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
The question is about the presentation earlier. The question is, one of the biggest dilemma of young students is the adjustment to utagogy or self-determined learning, especially with their transition from senior high school to college. Do you have advices to our teachers? How can we facilitate the transition of this self-determined learning?
Sure. See, actually, when we move into the new pedagogy models, actually the only aspect which you may put it as an advice or what I can suggest is, being open to receive, let's say, inputs from every side. And I'm sure all the teachers today and our entire fraternity of the training fraternity is with the technology and with other things all around and with so much of content all around. It's going to be real fun to make sure that how the students can learn in different ways. So teachers can actually become a wonderful facilitator to make things available for the learner. So actually, it'll be a very, it's a learning with fun kind of atmosphere which it'll emerge into. So I think that is the only advice I can give right at this point of time, to be open to and to be flexible to what the learner, trainer, curriculums, community is wanting to do. I think that's what would be my response to this.
Thank you, Sir Jack. Sir Jack, just a follow-up question. Is it healthy for teachers to give so much activities, especially during this distance learning?
Sorry, I missed your question, please.
Again, sorry, sir. Is it healthy for teachers to give so many activities for them to do in distance learning? Or how can we actually tell whether what they're giving is healthy already for them?
Okay, absolutely. So actually speaking, the kind of activities which are driven by teachers today is fabulous, and in fact that should continue. More important aspect which is emerging now is let the student community also create their own activities. Let it be a community peer-to-peer learning, and a guided and completely directed well by the facilitator or the trainer. So absolutely, there are obviously some fabulous activities which are already running, but there could be many more different ways of activities which the student community can do on their own. So that needs to be promoted.
Sir GP, you're muted po.
Sorry. Thank you, sir, for sharing. Our other speakers could react if they wanted to answer also the question. Dr. Sally, do you wanted to react from the question?
Yeah. In our program, the Master of Teaching, one of the topic that we train the teachers to do is called TPAC, right? Technological, Pedagogical, Content Knowledge. This is a module which, because of the COVID that just hit us, we modified. And exactly as what Mr. Dahia said, the teachers become curators, and students now need to devise their own collaborative learning. So how do you design activity is the teacher who will create. So because it's a higher order, it can be a project-based or a problem-based. And definitely students' collaboration is required and is essential for 21st century anyway. So designing the project is important to make sure that the students create, share, and collaborate. So that's 3 CSC: create, share, and collaborate. And it takes, even for the teachers level, we need to do the same, peer teaching, yes. You cannot now to work on your own in silos anymore. You need to collaborate in teaching and learning as well. That's my take on that topic.
Thank you, ma'am. How about Sir Jack? Do you have any answers to the same question? How are we going to engage our students more in distance learning?
Excuse me?
The question is about how do we engage more, especially if we have international students in the topic or in distance learning.
You mean local Filipino students studying in China?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The China universities, especially the top universities that welcome the foreign students studying in China, with the fund, with the scholarship, very good scholarship. So you can apply by yourself. Just go directly to any university you like to go. Check the official website. They have the connections there. Send an email there. That is okay. It's very simple. You don't have to go through any agencies. And also, if you want to apply for really top schools in China, you can check the official website, which I show you, studyinchina.edu.cn, which is government official website. You can check all the informations there. So when you study in China, no agencies. And of course, you have to study a long time because in China, the master degree should be 3 years. For PhD, it's around 4 to 5 years. We say 3 years, but it's normally 4 to 5 years. It's very hard. So, and also, of course, the foreign students, they have to learn basic Chinese language. Yeah, that is the requirement for getting the scholarship. Thank you very much. If you need any help from Ibu, just let me know. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Great, Ma'am Sai?
Yeah. So I guess they have a lot of inputs, no, regarding the different for instruction, research, and expansion that we are really looking forward for this partnership, and of course their information for having a new normal, since we are having the new normal, that the one that we have shared, no. So again, thank you so much for all of your questions. Thank you, Sir Jack, Dr. Sale, and Mr. Sunil for your inputs and information. And now to provide their thoughts on the integration of the content shared by our speakers to the context of our institutional practices in RTU, may we call in our panel of reactors. Let's have the Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Mark D.G. Garvida. We also have here one of the panel of reactors, the Director of Extension and Community Services Center. We have Professor Imelda D. Sioson, and the President of the Supreme Student Council, Mr. Jason Polonghari. So welcome our panel of reactors, Sir Mark, Ma'am Sioson, and Sir Jason. Can we ask them here?
Yes, I think we could start with Dr. Mark Gervida, the Dean of the College of Education. Sir Mark? Sir, you are muted, sir.
Hello, good afternoon from the Philippines. Tama. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank to the ILIAC or our international linkages team for this very important event. And while we may have a lot of realizations for this entire morning, allow me to give also some of the items that were struck my attention. Number one, uh, it's really good that we consider early exposure of the student now in the industry, because it is indeed that makes them more aware about the atmosphere in the workplace, and also the importance now of the students as part of our stakeholders in the development of our curriculum design. And collaboration also to various programs of industry and the school should be established so that the institutions of higher learning can provide responsive academic programs to our students. Um, Internet now may seem to be strongly associated with our economic growth. No? And in the context of the Philippines, I think this is what we should be investing. And also the importance of carefully well-planned instructions. I have also some questions that I would like to, well, I could ask to our participants also, or to our speakers. Since we expose our students early in the industry, is that tantamount to let them choose their career in that age, in that particular early age? And does a global students really require now to learn a lot of language? Because we really need to learn language in order to be global, as they say. And while we try to go beyond borders, um, do we really need to, is it important to first set our local identity and let us build that first in our institution? So these are some of my questions, and I learned a lot this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Garvida. Is our speaker willing to react from the message of Dean Garvida? I mean, particularly on the question that was thrown as to whether or not language will really hinder us in focusing on our own rather than expanding our own borders. Should we focus on reaching out to others, or should we just focus on to ourselves first? I think that's the message. So we'll go now to our second reactor. We have Professor Imelda Shoson.
Hi, a good day to everyone, especially to our dear speakers today. Thank you for your inputs, for the opportunity to RTU faculty and students. Okay, so I really admire the input of the speakers, especially like offer more dual degree programs, offer international elective courses. And as an extension and community service director, I can see the opportunity, especially for the English teachers, okay, for the opportunity to expand their horizons as a teacher. Okay, so higher education sector, including the international academic cooperation, has been hit hardly as well because of this coronavirus. So at the same time, due to the pandemic, okay, and pandemic-related measures, international cooperations of universities has been confronted with a highly demanding situation. So the outbreak of the COVID-19 has bewildered most international activities. So in short, the COVID-19 pandemic and the pandemic-related measures have negatively affected student mobility programs. So different flexible approaches were adopted. Like in our school, we have replacing paperwork with digital work, reducing the administrative burden for students and employees, and improving technical solutions for student mobility. So despite limitations and restrictions caused by this pandemic, we really need to work closer together to build a better future for global education, modern research and extension, and fruitful projects to keep pace with the increasingly changing world of the 21st century. Thank you and good day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Professor Imelda Shoson. So another reactor, we will be having Mr. Jason Tolonghari.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, to our three speakers, Dr. Salima and Mr. Dahia, and to Mr. Jack. So good afternoon again, and to everyone. So I would like to give my general realizations for today's discussion. So as a students, and on the part of the students, some of the input that have been provided a while ago during discussions are new ideas and information to us. And we recognize and the importance, more particular to the discussion of the first speakers. And we are lucky today, 21st century, that we have been through the period of information age. Or let's try to imagine if we are in the 19th century. So since the pandemic brought a tremendous effect in our education system, we have another option to continue the delivery of education, which is through the alternative, which is the technology. And however, since we have an alternative, we cannot we should consider also that the delivery of quality education is effective. So we need to provide also a various strategies, and also not only for compliance to teach, or not just an purely instruction, but we need also to consider some barriers that the students are encountering. Like for example, in technology, we have also various digital divide. More particularly, the Philippines and some other ASEAN countries are belong to the global south, which is developing countries, and it is given that we have some digital divide to our students, and also the connectivity to internet and the resources that we have. And next is the also to the third speaker. Before I proceed to the second speaker, I would like to give my general realization to the third. Thank you, sir, for giving that's very helpful ideas which can the country may adapt in formulating its policy with regards to external extension services, and also in providing programs for other students from other countries, which we can also adapt in providing our programs for the students, for the Filipinos also, and degree programs that would encourage Filipinos to study abroad, which particularly in universities that have been a high credentials and facilities. And next to our second speaker, to Dr. Salima. So thank you for providing us an input which is truly beneficial to our faculty in adapting an effective environment in the learning. Also, the research is very informative and truly beneficial, and I really appreciate that, ma'am. And particularly, Brunei is a small country, and despite this small population, I think we share similar diversity and culture, and I think it is applicable also to in our country. So thank you. And from the validity and reliability of data, so it's also discussed in the research that you have provided. So in general, thank you. And through international linkages, RTU can increase its interdependence with other universities. And thank you also to the area, one of the offices of RTU, for inviting me here, and on the part of the students. Thank you so much, and good afternoon to all of you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Garvida. Thank you, Professor Shoson, and Mr. Tolonghari for the inputs.
Okay, so to recognize the contributions made by our speaker this morning, may we invite the Director of the International Linkages and External Affairs Office to read our citation and award the certificates to our speakers. Dr. Kay Opolencia. Ma'am, Kay.
Good afternoon. Okay, so the Rizal Technological University, International Linkages and External Affairs Center, Certificate of Recognition is awarded to the following: Mr. Sunil Dahiya, Dr. Haja Salima Haji Mod Saleh, and Mr. Jack Mengbing for their unparalleled and commendable dedication to share profound knowledge and expertise in the topic RTU Beyond Borders, Internationalization Ingenuities Amidst the Pandemic, in pursuit to continuously exchanging ideas and invigorate learning in this challenging time. The inputs as research speaker are great contribution in the internationalization through academic instruction, research, and extension services. Given this 28th day of October 2021 at the Rizal Technological University, City of Mandaluyong, Philippines. Signed by yours truly and Dr. Rodolfo P. L. Dion, our Chief Executive Director, and our University President, Dr. Maria Eugenia M. Yanko. Thank you very much, sir and ma'am, Dr. Salima.
Thanks a lot.
Again, let us give a round of virtual applause to our speakers. May we again invite our speakers if they have any closing statements that they want to share, if they wanted to have a brief ending statement. Let's start with Dr. Saleh.
Okay, it's a really very informative session this morning. I really enjoy it. I also would like to welcome opportunities if you have any masters of teaching students who can exchange with our faculty, or anyone who are interested to do a PhD in our faculty. We do have scholarship as well. You reach out to our assistant registrar, which is in our UBD website. In our faculty, we are trying to do more on Master of Teaching internationalization. We have done last year research on that, where we have exchange of students. Even now, I think because of the online, it will be easier. Now we have online teaching and learning in our separate schools without having to come to each other's country. So I hope that's an opportunity that we can have in collaboration after this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saleh. How about Sir Jack?
Yes.
Any ending statement?
Yes.
You wanted to share?
Yes, I'm very happy to have the chance here, and we hope we can have more this seminar. Not only with RTO, but next time we are hoping to connect with more schools. Like we can invite some Chinese schools, some schools from Malaysia. We can make it bigger, and we can invite some students, even top students. They can exchange their idea here. They can discuss, give them the chance to talk. So I'm welcoming all our friends to visit China later after the pandemic, which we expected in 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sir Jack. And let's have Mr. Sunil.
Okay, thanks for giving me this opportunity. So I would like to actually, from my heart, thank each one of you who made this program possible, the whole team of RTU who was working behind it. And we are so glad to be partnering with you and would like to continue, delivering the global programs with your support in all parts of the country and specifically Philippines. So I think it was a great pleasure to be talking to the academia, students and trainers. And thank you so much for inviting us. And, as Sir just said, I think we should do more and more such activities. It'll be absolute pleasure for us to participate and contribute in any which way we can. Thank you so much and all the best.
Okay, so let's give a round of virtual applause to our speakers for this morning. Thank you, sirs and ma'am. It's a privilege for our university to have you here. Okay. So I think our faculty is quite excited with the engagements that we have specifically with our international partners because tons of opportunities and tons of windows are now opening for trainings and sessions that we could now attribute to our own personal development. So to give us the synthesis for today's event, may we call on the director of the Curriculum and Instructional Resources Development Center of the Rizal Technological University, Professor Nilmar I. Moreno.
Hello, good afternoon. A pleasant day to all, especially to our university president, vice presidents, other university officials, attendees, and to our esteemed guest resource persons. To wind up this session, it is really timely that apart from various university initiatives of innovating institutional processes, is our eagerness to also innovate our academic programs and virtual campus life through different internationalization initiatives. While we consider continuity operating the trifocal functions of the university, namely instruction, research, and extension, we also put premium on sustainability and advancement of these functions to enable mobility by going beyond borders and international collaboration. On instruction, Dr. Dahia highlighted shift from instruction focus to a more learner-centered learning framework as we recalibrate teaching. A collaborative teaching entails optimization of various pedagogical content and knowledge, now utagogy, which better adheres to enhance the links and roles of academe, industry, and the government to serve learners and society better. On research, Dr. Sally emphasized the call to heed the conduct of collaborative researches in various disciplines is becoming way more vital than before as the society tries to configure various life roles and settings to mitigate developing issues and problems, which means considering utilization and unity of various theories, principles, practices along with acceptance of appropriate technology. On extension, Mr. Mengbing showed us the need for expansion of extension projects and go beyond the usual community extension. As we are now embedding technology in the process, communication is now paving ways for universities to reduce barriers and connect better. The vision to likewise involve international communities in the extension projects will not only become helpful to the international beneficiaries, but it will more beneficial to the extensionist institutions to explore more in the improvement of its academic programs like the dual degree, sandwich, and joint degree programs. To end this synthesis, it is now important more than ever to revisit our practices and once again cultivate each foundation and requirements of the university's trifocal functions to continuously leverage the international stature of RTU as an academic institution. Once again, good afternoon to all.
Thank you, Sir Nilmar, for that wonderful summarization of what happened with our event this morning. We are really looking forward for more events like this, Sir JP. And now to share on the opportunities available for our faculty, employees, and students for our international programs, let us welcome back again Professor Jamie Lee Gregorio.
Hello, everyone. So just a few announcements of what is up with ILEAC and the future programs of ILEAC. So we were invited or we were sent an email by California State University Northridge to study abroad. They have a summer program that is a 6-week program that allows international students to enroll in the university credit classes on an F1 visa, student visa. So students can choose from hundreds of classes in a variety of subjects with a full-time course load of just 2 classes or 6 units, students will have a lot of time to enjoy summertime activities in Los Angeles and explore America. And this is just one of the future plans of ILEC to partner with other institutions in the future. So to get to know more about CSUN or California State University Northridge, please contact us through our email ilayac@rtu.edu.ph. Okay, and also please do not forget to fill out our post-event evaluation form. Just check out our QR code. You can scan that through your mobile phones. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Jamie. Again, let's give a round of applause to the organizers, to the speakers of our event for this morning, which is RTU Beyond Borders Internationalization Ingenuities Amidst the Pandemic. I believe we have so many questions that could be addressed by the center by itself, like what type of projects, what programs could we enter into, what are the scholarships that can be availed even by our faculty, because we know that learning never stops, especially if you are part of the academe. And now to close our program, let us all welcome the Director of the International Linkages and External Affairs Center, Dr. Christine Y. Opolencia.
Thank you, Sir JP. To our beloved University President, ever supportive Vice Presidents, College Deans, University officials, fellow educators, dear students, and esteemed guests, good afternoon. Allow me to thank our Honorable Commissioner of the Commission on Higher Education Department of the International Affairs Services, Attorney Lily Milia, and our distinguished resource speakers, the Executive Vice President of Wadhwani Opportunity, Mr. Sunil Dahiya, of Dr. Salima Modsale of the Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah Institute of Education of the University Brunei Darussalam, President Jack Mengbing of Yibu Education Network in China, and our panel of reactors from the College of Education, Dr. Mark Garvida, Dean of the College of Education, Professor Imelda Shoson, Director of the Extension and Community Services Center, and of course, our President for Supreme Student Council, Mr. Jason Tolonghari, and to our Curriculum and Instruction Resource Development Center Director, Professor Nilmar Moreno, for gracing the first ever RTU Beyond Borders Virtual Forum. We are indeed grateful for the time you spent here with us this morning, as well as for the knowledge and expertise you shared to all of us. It is but the desire of our university to continuously provide the RTU community with opportunities and breakthroughs in the various fields of instruction, research, and extension services. With this forum, we hope that we were able to communicate our objective of promoting and encouraging internationalization ingenuities amidst this pandemic. Yes, the pandemic has been a challenging and difficult time for most of us, and it hindered a lot of opportunities. But as the saying goes, nothing is permanent and only change is constant in this world. Thus, we have to face the realities and embrace the so-called new or better normal in order for us to sustain and advance beyond borders. The International Linkages and External Affairs Center extends its gratitude as well to the people and offices who helped and assisted us in organizing this virtual event, to the Office of the President cluster headed by our Chief Director, Dr. Rodolfo P. Aldion Jr., to the Management Information Center led by its Director, Engineer Eugene Sadicon, the Cultural Affairs Center led by Director Professor Julian Santos, the Events and Program Head, as well as one of our vibrant moderators today, Professor JP De Leon. Thank you so much, sir, and most of all, to our Almighty God for making all this possible. Thank you all very much for staying with us until this very late in the afternoon. Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Opulencia. Mukhang pwede na po ata tayong magtagalog ngayon, Ma'am Cyril.
Makakahinga na tayo ng maluwag.
That's true. I think this is a challenge, especially if this is something that's related with ILEA. Because we really, although we love our language, but it's really good for us to really be exposed into these kinds of opportunity. So, Ma'am Cyril, kamusta ang iyong last experience, ang iyong first experience ng webinar ngayong umaga?
Yeah, I am really looking forward for more, especially with the programs. No, I'm more of excited with the offerings that they had presented, like the dual degree programs, study abroad. We have a lot to offer, and this is just the first of the many events that we will be looking forward for RTU, for our faculty, and of course our students.
That's really true. Something that we could expect and look forward to, because we will be creating future events, especially on the areas of student opportunities, faculty opportunities, and how could we grow more in this time of pandemic. So again, this is JP De Leon.
And this is your host, Cyril Rafael,
saying that we would like to thank you and see you on our next journey beyond borders. Have a blessed afternoon to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats, Elia.
Thank you po, everyone.
Congratulations.
Thank you po for saying it. Thank you, Dr. Sanchez.